Here we go!
Whenever you are talking about the company Nintendo, two franchises come to mind, Pokemon and Mario. However, Mario is the longer standing of the two franchises, dating back all the way to the Donkey Kong game made in 1981, in which everyone's favorite Italian plumber wasn't even a plumber. In fact, he was originally a carpenter and was known as Jumpman. However, after this initial sighting, Mario and his brother Luigi were given their own game in 1983 with Mario Bros. But the first sighting of the Mushroom Kingdom wasn't seen until 1985 with Super Mario Bros., in which the classic storyline of Mario saving Princess Peach was created. Next, in 1988 and 1989, the next two installments of Super Mario Bros. Were created, and the sprites of the current 2D models for the characters began to become more friendlier and take more of a shape. It wouldn't be until 1996, though, for Mario to appear in a 3D model for the Nintendo 64 for the first time. From then on, the game made its way to all different types of platforms, including GameCube, DS, Wii, and other various platforms.
Although the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, was considered the most cutting-edge gaming system on the market, it was still developed in 1983. This meant that its graphics processing power and overall computing power was rather limited. Working with substantially fewer resources than they have now, the game's mechanics were reflectively simple. The game itself is a two-dimensional game where Mario runs across a side-scroller and eventually completes each level. Players had the ability to jump, slam down, as well as work with various abilities, but the game was too simplistic in nature and was run on too basic of a system to include more complex mechanics. As the technology was limited, so was the game. In a similar nature, the game lacked substantial emphasis in the story behind the levels, as was the culture of the time. Players enjoyed the complex, surprisingly challenging repetition of passing levels and eventually beating the game. Super Mario Bros. Provided players the opportunity to play in their own personal arcade and pass through levels on their own time at their own pace. There wasn't as much need for a story because that's simply what gamers were not interested in. They were interested more in mechanics and passing levels. And while the games have aged with time, their player base has remained loyal to their brand, staying with them into the newer era of the franchise. Despite it having relatively more complex and difficult mechanics as the game eventually progressed with technology. So let's look into a little bit of what the newer games look like.
The most recent Super Mario Bros. Game was offered in handheld version on the Nintendo DS and on a console in the Wii. These platforms have a lot more power than the NES system that the original Super Mario Bros. Game was offered on. With this new handheld version on the DS being offered, kids can now play Super Mario Bros. Wherever they want if they are on the run. This latest game has elements of 3D design but 2D movement. The graphics in this game are much better than the original Super Mario Bros. That did not have many pixels. This also has allowed the game designers to feature many more color schemes throughout the game. This is the first Super Mario game to feature simultaneous 4-player multiplayer cooperative gameplay. It is also the first to include Nintendo's new Super Guide feature. The game's plot follows that of most Super Mario games. Mario fights his way through Bowser's henchmen to rescue Princess Peach. This game features many more power-ups for Mario to accumulate throughout the game. This game also includes 9 different worlds and a total of 80 levels. As of September 2017, Super Mario Bros. Wii is the 4th best-selling game on the Wii, selling 30.1 million copies worldwide. Super Mario Bros. Became the fastest-selling game in history. The Wii version of this game won the Wii Game of the Year for 2009 at the Spike Video Game Awards. It also won the Best Family Game of the Year for 2009 from Yahoo.
Released in April of 2008, has proved to be one of the most successful games in the Mario franchise. Mario Kart Wii features several innovations that brought a new flavor into the Mario brand. The game is a racing game, where the player can select one of 24 different Mario characters ranging from Mario to Luigi to Wario and Dragon's Bowser. As the 6th installment in the Mario Kart line of console games, Mario Kart Wii features 32 tracks, featuring both classic tracks from the previous games and new tracks. Like the previous versions, this game allows players to play individually or in a multiplayer setting, where the objective is to finish the race first, using an array of items to enhance your own performance or hinder your opponents. The game saw opening day sales of 300,000 copies in Japan, and as of September 2017, has sold over 37 million copies. This is largely due to the success of the Wii steering wheel that allowed players to steer their karts with a more natural feeling. This installation in the Mario franchise saw great improvements in visual design and graphics, and provided players a chance to diversify their play while still supporting their favorite plumber. Mario Kart Wii had the most complex physics laws and map designs of any preceding Mario Kart installment.
The next game in the franchise to break boundaries, quite literally, is Super Mario Galaxy. This is where Nintendo really stood out by trying to test the limits of their games. Instead of being a 2D side-scroller, it was an adventure with complex physics and amazing graphics. And characters and their background stories were also explored within more depth. It started off the same with Princess Peach being kidnapped by Bowser, but instead of going to a castle, they head towards space. This is where Mario meets the new fan favorite, Princess Rosalina. As you complete levels, you can learn more about her backstory as well, and learn more about the Lumas, which are our little star friends. Because Mario is in space, it introduces a lot of new concepts that couldn't be done in the original game. And because space is endless, so are the possibilities. For one, the physics in the game can make it where you can completely run around a planet to falling off huge castles into black holes. In one planet, you can have multiple levels and designs. This design is also very beautiful and takes advantage of different color schemes than the primary color composition in the original games. Not to mention, the musical score in the game was amazing, as it kept the lighthearted fun of Mario but the grandiosity of space. Super Mario Galaxy also introduces different species and power-ups that Mario can use. More importantly, it takes advantage of the Wii by making the player shake the controller to activate Mario's spin attack and nunchuck to move around. A second player can also join in to collect star bits, which can be spent on reviving the character, buying new planets, or making the Lumas happy.
About 2 years ago, Nintendo announced that it was looking into virtual reality. The concept will be similar to Mario Kart Arcade GP and be released into Japanese arcades. Users will sit in a small cart paired with the effects within the game as they wear the VR headset. People will also be able to reach out to grab virtual items and throw them with real-life motions. There is currently a trailer out promoting this VR. This development is paired with other arcade games switching to VR. However, this development is not expected to become widespread. Though Nintendo is releasing the game, the company Namco Bandai is taking the lead, and they are limiting the amount of games that are released for VR. Also, the game is not expected to make its way outside of Japan. Though the release of VR with the Mario franchise will be limited, it is a good sign that video games are keeping up with the development of technology.